So as promised, guys, I'm just going to show you quickly that same flashback pheasant tail that we tied on Tuesday night. So our first step is to tie in our thread at the halfway mark, wrap back, and then we're going to take it forward. Sorry, I bumped my camera a couple times. So what we want to do is take a pheasant tail fiber. We're going to pull off about 8. We're going to make a measurement on the hook because we want these tail fibers to hang beyond the hook bend 1/2 the body length. So we can make that distinction right there. Bring that to the rear of the fly, clip it off, tie in our fibers, and then we're just going to wrap back, slightly pulling up on the pheasant tail to keep it on the top of the hook shank. Our next step is to tie in the copper wire. Again, we just tie that in at the very back end of the fly. Wrap back to the bend, and then we're just going to keep our thread back there because now we're going to put in the pheasant tail fibers that we're going to wrap the body with. Now, try and remember to pick fairly long pheasant tail fibers. So if you pick them from the center of the feather, that always seems to be where the pheasant tails are the longest. So I'm just going to tie that in by the tips facing straight back. Then I'm going to take my thread to the halfway mark and I'm going to wrap my pheasant tail. Now, bear in mind, if you keep twisting that pheasant tail as you wrap, you will keep it in the same tight bundle. It won't spread out on you. Take it to the halfway mark, tie it off, clip off the excess, tie those butt sections in. Then we're going to take a red copper wire and we're going to wrap in the opposite direction. Nice even wraps throughout the whole abdomen of the fly. Tie it off at the halfway mark. And just pull off our excess red wire. Make sure we got a nice smooth transition there. And then the first thing we're going to do is tie in at the thorax portion of the fly is we're going to tie in our copper on one side, peacock on the other, uni tinsel. You want to tie that on the top, facing straight back. Oop. You want to tie that on the top, peacock curl side down, facing straight back. Okay, the next thing we want to tie in is another chunk of pheasant tail. And this is going to be used for our legs. Now, because we want our legs to be approximately half the body length, we're going to take a measurement right to the bead. So that's going to be half our body length. Then we have to add the half that we're pulling over. So we'll add another half there. Get that measurement. Take that back. Clip it off. Then using our pinch technique, we're just going to tie that fiber on the front, facing straight back. Now we're going to get 2 peacock curl feathers. This is going to create the thorax of our fly. Now remember, I told you guys that you choose your 2 peacock feathers and then you want to just clip off the very tips because they're very brittle. And we want to create a fly that's going to last, not going to come apart, and it's going to be much easier for you guys to tie it in. So we tie those again facing straight back. Now we take our thread to the bead, just behind the bead, and then we're going to wrap our peacock curl to create our thorax. And remember, I told you guys you can, if you want to bulk up your thorax, you would just take this peacock curl back and forward until you get the right amount. I like to have my flies quite slender, so I'm just going to tie that off, couple wraps in behind the fibers, then a couple wraps in the front, clip those off. I'm just going to rotate my vise a little bit. So now I'm going to pull my pheasant tail forward, just the pheasant tail, hold it on the top with my thumb, wrap a couple of wraps right behind the bead, and then I'm going to divide that fiber about half and half, and then pull it down to the sides and do a couple wraps of your thread to keep your fibers on the side. And I'm just going to pull that peacock crystal flash over. Again, it'll also divide those fibers nicely for you. 1, 2, and then if you do everything right, you should just do a couple wraps and then it should fold over by itself like that. Then we just clip off the excess. And then the last thing is we're just going to whip finish our fly. Just pull those fibers down to the positions. You should be able to just kind of manipulate them with your fingers. And then just do a quick whip finish right behind the bead. Clip your thread off, and that is it. That is my version of a peacock flashback pheasant tail.